The roar of motorcycles echoed through the desert night as Jack Carver, former Marine turned undercover cop, rolled into the parking lot of the Rusted Skull. It was the kind of dive where danger lurked in every shadow, and tonight, he was walking straight into it. Jack had been chosen for this operation because of his military background, tough, disciplined, and able to think on his feet. His mission? Infiltrate the Black Hounds, a biker gang infamous for running guns, drugs, and anything else that turned a profit. Months of preparation had led to this moment, a new identity, a Harley-Davidson he'd spent weeks modifying to fit in, a backstory so airtight even he almost believed it. As he pushed open the bar's creaky door, the smell of stale beer and cigarette smoke hit him. The gang was there, clustered around a corner table, their leather vests bearing the snarling dog emblem of the Black Hounds. Jack approached slowly, his heart pounding. He wasn't afraid of a fight. He'd seen worse in combat. But this was different. If he slipped up, there'd be no second chances. "You lost, stranger?" a gruff voice called out. Jack grinned, forcing confidence into his voice. "Not lost, just looking for the right company." The man who'd spoken, a wiry figure with a snake tattoo winding around his neck, narrowed his eyes. "Name's Snake, and we don't let just anyone sit at our table." Jack shrugged. "Heard you boys know how to make good money. Figured I'd see if I can help." Snake smirked, but his eyes were sharp, measuring. "Let's see what you're made of then." The first weeks were a test of endurance. Jack did everything they asked, from running errands to scaring off rival gang members. The missions grew riskier by the day, but he kept his cover intact, earning their trust one step at a time. The Black Hounds were brutal, but they weren't stupid. Jack quickly realized their leader, Grayson "Gray" Malone, was far more calculating than the thugs he commanded. Gray saw everything, and Jack knew even a hint of hesitation could expose him. But as time went on, Jack found himself in deeper than he'd anticipated. It wasn't just about survival anymore. There were moments, drinks around the fire after a long ride, jokes shared on the open road, where Jack almost felt like he belonged. Snake even told him once, "You're all right, Carver. You've got the heart of a hound." It should have made Jack proud of his progress. Instead, it gnawed at him. These men were criminals, yet they treated him like family in a way he hadn't felt since his time in the Corps. Every call he made to his handler became harder, the lies heavier. "They're gearing up for a big shipment," he'd report, forcing himself to push down the guilt. The moment his cover cracked, Jack didn't see it coming. It was a simple job, transporting a shipment of guns to a warehouse across state lines. But when they arrived, Gray turned to him with a cold smile. "Check the crates," Gray ordered. Jack froze. It was the last thing they'd trained him for. If they had him open a crate, his fingerprints would be on the weapons, tying him directly to the crime. He hesitated just long enough for Gray's expression to shift. "Something wrong, Carver?" Gray asked, his voice sharp. "No," Jack said quickly, forcing himself to pry open a crate. But his hands trembled, and the gang noticed. By the time they returned to the clubhouse, Gray's demeanor had turned icy. That night, Jack woke to the sound of his phone vibrating. A single message from his handler. "Your cover's blown. Get out, now." His stomach dropped. He didn't hear the gang approaching until it was too late. They dragged him into the desert, the headlights of their bikes casting long shadows over the sand. Gray stood over him, his face unreadable. "You really had us fooled, Carver. Almost started thinking of you as one of us." Jack tried to reason with them. "You don't have to do this. I was just doing my job." Gray crouched down, his voice low. "So were we." The last thing Jack saw was the glint of a lighter in Gray's hand. Days later, a hiker found the burned-out shell of Jack's Harley near a remote stretch of desert. The investigation into the Black Hounds was quietly closed, with no mention of Jack's undercover work. For the gang, life went on as usual, roaring down the highways, their crimes hidden behind the camaraderie of leather and steel. And for Jack, there was nothing left. Only the faint whispers of the desert wind carried the memory of the man who tried to do the right thing. The end. Let me know your thoughts.